I didn't really have very many female role models in my early life. I think it was just the state of the time in which I grew up. But the first one that I really remember is Anita Roddick of Body Shop fame. I think she was the first entrepreneur that I really paid attention to, and I imagine that was for two reasons. One, because she was a woman and unusual in that respect, and two, because the Body Shop being an ethically based organisation, which really resonated with me as I was, a young activist student. So those are Anita's probably the one that's stand out for me. So I would say the pivotal moment was when I did tragically bad at my A-levels. I made my choice based on the career that I thought I wanted to have, being an officer in the RAF in the avionics section. And so this drove me to select subjects that I was totally unable to be good at, maths, electronic systems and physics. So after struggling for about 2 years to really, make a good grade that would get me to university and abjectly failing, I was forced to reconsider my options. And that made me stop and think about what I was good at, think about what would be a good job role for the future. And technology was one of the burgeoning industries that was just starting to get traction. So I opted to enter a technology and business related course, and thereafter I've not looked back. It was totally I totally understood it against the backdrop of failing with all the other items or not being good enough. I totally got it. It was my sweet spot, and I've really not looked back. So I think that would be my pivotal moment. I'm not sure that I expressly chose insurance, but it chose me. And I've been entirely happy with my journey through insurance. So it's an exciting industry. One of my biggest challenges, and probably the most important, is understanding how best to allocate my time, what to focus on, what not to focus on, what will get by without your attention, and understanding what will give best impact without necessarily just always going to your comfort place, which is the things that you know you can do easily. So I think that's the really biggest challenge, because we're all time poor in our organisations. We've all got much more on our to-do list than we can ever do in a single day, or a single 4 days trying to ram into one. So I think it's the most effective allocation of your time is probably, I think, the hardest decision that I make. I'm a firm believer in leading by example and exemplifying the behaviours of your organisational culture. So for me, because Aon has an open culture, it invites question and challenge to make sure that we don't make obvious mistakes or get into groupthink or somehow end up on the wrong side of the regulator. There are many reasons that we need to be able to speak to each other frankly. So by being open and honest and available for questions, I think that it does exemplify the behaviours of our culture. I would also add, though, that it's as much important to communicate with people and to ask them about how they're getting on, how they're settling in, are there any challenges that they face, and how can you assist. I think it's only by talking about those kind of, asking those kind of open questions that you can help, basically make people feel comfortable. But again, it's just reinforcing that message about the organisation and the culture that we have. Own it, be confident, but also don't assume that you should know all the answers. Develop a support network, people that you can go to for advice, and then use that network. And also be aware of the potential for groupthink. If everybody's agreeing with you all of the time within your team, then you've got to stop and ask yourself why, because it's entirely possible that you're driving down the wrong decision just because of your force of nature or your position as the leader. There are so many resources, books, TED Talks, conferences, networking opportunities. I think you just need to figure out what suits you best, but definitely go broad and find things that resonate, but also look for things that challenge you. Put yourself in places which aren't always your comfortable spot, and just meet people and talk. I'm going to give you two. Empathy and vision. Empathy, I think, is probably the most important to me, which is, again, all about understanding your organisation, understanding the people that you're reporting to, understanding your team, because it's your role to distill the organisational goals and the goals of your managers and organise it such that your team can deliver to those and deliver to them effectively and well, so that everybody gets to feel good about doing a good job. If you haven't got empathy, then you're probably not listening to your team, and therefore you're probably going to miss it when you're trying to communicate with them and get them to focus on the tasks that are required of them, and or fail to communicate it in a way that really resonates to them and resonates to what their goals are and how they want to develop. And then the vision is really about sort of being able to focus on achieving those goals and not getting distracted by the minutiae of day-to-day life and the challenges that will generally try and swamp you, and so that you just keep holding to that strategy that you've got set in your mind, and again are able to articulate that vision and that focus. I don't have any official mentors, but I do have a lot of people that I go to for advice and bounce ideas off of. It's difficult to pinpoint exactly what I'm looking for. Alignment is the best that I can then clarify. And what I mean by that is that I want somebody who gets me enough that we can have a sensible conversation. They're not going to be necessarily challenging me with things that are just so out of my comfort zone that I'm just going to flounder and fail, but also somebody who knows me well enough to give me some challenges. And so, as I say, it's about the length of that challenge. You want a stretch challenge, but you don't want to break the elastic, if you will. So alignment is probably the closest I can get to what I'm looking for in a mentor.